Welcome to Movie Talk with D&D. As you can see by the logo, this is our Star Trek Beyond episode of Movie Talk with D&D. And I am Dwayne.
And I'm David.
And we have a special guest with us tonight. David, why don't you introduce her?
For those of you that know her, her name's Jill. For those of you that don't, her name's Dr. Jill. And she's awesome.
Hey.
She's super smart. She's cerebral. I can attest to that. And she loves movies like we do. So we invited her to talk about Star Trek with us. She's also from Survivor season
21, Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. 9 was stuck in my head, but I think that's Bob's season. So, yeah, season 21, Nicaragua.
Wow, 9 to 21. There's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
David. So, how are you doing, Dr. Jill?
Fine, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Are you a big Star Trek fan?
I am.
Like, since the very beginning?
Yeah, well, yes, definitely. I was a little young, when it first came on, but I've watched probably all the episodes and all the movies. And although I wasn't kind of like in the middle for the when Data and that group were on, not so much there.
Oh, I love The Next Generation.
Yeah, I wasn't much into that.
That was really good. So as you know, folks, we're going to talk about Star Trek Beyond. It'll be spoilerish, so if you haven't seen it, you might want to see it before you listen, because we are going to give things away, like the good guys win. Spock is the first officer. So if you haven't watched it, we're going to tell you things like that. So make sure you pay attention. So David, do you have a lot of facts and stuff ready for us? Like, it costs this much.
I wanted to continue what you said. I want to know everybody's scale of 1 to 10 where you are in the Star Trek trekkiness. And
okay.
I'll go first. I'm probably a 7.5. I'm definitely not a 10. I did go see the first of this reboot where they were signing up. I did see it opening night where there was a sign-up table for anyone looking to join Starfleet, and I kind of bypassed that table.
I'm glad you did, David.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
But I knew, because of my love for movies, I knew about the original series and the original movie. But it's funny, I didn't really get hooked on Star Trek until my honeymoon, the week of July 14th. I know it's weird. Let me finish.
That's a weird time to get connected to Star Trek, David.
We're in Myrtle Beach, and it's raining all week.
Yeah.
And we planned.
If only there was something to do.
Wow, what are you going to do, David?
Raining all week.
Wow. Between our adventures out, we Star Trek had a marathon that week for some reason of The Next Generation, and I got stuck on The Next Generation.
Captain Picard.
Well, actually, Terry got stuck on Captain Picard, but I got stuck on the series itself. And but it was really good, and I really enjoyed it, and it made me go back and watch the original series in its entirety and all the movies. So I've seen, I think, almost every episode and every movie except for the most recent one, The Enterprise. I love Scott Bakula, but I just couldn't get into that series. But I saw all of Voyager, I saw all of Deep Space Nine, all those, and liked them. So I won't say I'm a 10 because I don't know everything. But I'm a 7, as in I do want to see him in the theaters, and I'll probably check out the new series when it comes out.
Cool. How about you, Dr. Jill?
Well, up until David's little spiel, I was giving myself a 6. Now I'm like a 3.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, well, I love the original, and I followed that, and I missed a good part of that because I grew up without a television and didn't have one in college for like a long time. So there's just big chunks that I simply miss. And I do love the characters, and it wasn't that I didn't like it. It was more of just an admission thing. There's only so many hours in a day. But I have watched faithfully all the movies, and I really particularly like the casting in this set of the newest movies, if you will. So yeah, 3, I guess.
Okay, so I'm probably going to be a 5 or a 6, but it really depends on where you go back in the last 25 years of my marriage. So I never really was a big fan of the original series. My wife and I watched every single episode of The Next Generation, Make It So, and we really enjoyed Deep Space Nine. Didn't really watch the other ones, and then I didn't like the original cast movies. Don't really like them at all. Kind of think they're kind of cheesy, except for The Wrath of Khan. Who doesn't like that one? And but this reboot, amazing. Absolutely love it. My favorite of all the Star Trek things. So there you go. That's where we are in the Star Trek world. So if you're a Star Trek, you're like all into it. We're just casual watchers. So don't get your hopes up.
So I agree with you about the older cast trying to make newer movies, and it's kind of like using a 45-year-old pitcher to go back into the World Series. He was good when he was 25. He was pretty good when he was 35. He might still be good at 45, but you're still going to use him because you know he was good back in the old days. You're not going to trust something.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what they did as the series went along. Even though some of the older ones were good, but some of them were just like, man, that guy's old.
Yeah.
He's still going through space. Yeah.
I'm just sitting here. I'm just like Nolan Ryan.
There's that one William Shatner. That one Captain Kirk, Nolan Ryan. Yes.
All right.
And he works. And he played his own Leonard Nimoy. He's still, until this one, he was still making every movie.
Man. And the way they integrated him and the way they rebooted the entire series was just so smart. So smartly done. At least in my opinion. Do y'all agree? Disagree?
I agree. I think it was very deft, and it was fairly seamless. It made sense. It wasn't like contrived. It was like, here's so and so. Yeah, it was good.
Right.
I think it was good.
Go ahead.
I think it was good in the sense that they didn't promote it until the movie came out, because you couldn't get away with that with Star Wars. You certainly couldn't remake something that was that great. So with Star Trek, to me, not being on the same level as the movies of the Star Wars series, I think this was something that was a candidate to be rebooted. But like you said, the way they did it, they didn't disrespect the past. They just altered the timeline. And I thought it was brilliant. And I love it because it changes how we look at the characters now. This isn't William Shatner's Captain Kirk. This is Chris Pine's Captain Kirk. And because he had a different life. He did not grow up going into Starfleet. He grew up as a rebel. He didn't go into Starfleet until the last minute.
Right.
So, and that's what I love about this series, and that's why it's allowed to be different. And we don't have to expect the same characters. We can look forward to something different from these characters.
Yeah, it's an alternate timeline, so you can do anything you want. The same characters, alternate timeline. Ambassador Spock somehow gets thrown into that alternate timeline, which is pretty cool, and it makes for hey, we can do anything we want with this series. So pretty cool.
That was probably the smartest thing I think in the series, is that they were able to break Spock, Leonard Nimoy, into this series. They figured out a way to get one of the most popular people from that old series into this series. That was pretty smart.
And how odd would it be to find out that you died?
Yeah.
Spock gets a letter. By the way, you died. Oh, how nice.
He gets an iPad. It says, he died.
Yes. All right, so David, I made an intro, and I want y'all to hear it. It's a minute long. I'll probably shorten it up. So if you want to pass it, you can pass it up. I'm going to put the...
I'm going to go get a drink.
No, you're not. Shut up. Stay in here. You're going to... I spent time on this. All right? So here we go. All right. Movie Talk with D&D. The Star Trek Beyond episode. This is the show of David and Dwaine. Our 90-minute mission to explore the movie, to see what our guest Dr. Jill has to say, to boldly go where no show has gone before. Okay, that's enough. There you go.
90 minutes? You're booking us? We can't go over?
No, we can go over. I just didn't want to say our 5-year expedition.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a couple. Tony Vlachos was pretty long. Yeah. That was a long one. And so anyway, all right. So when did you see the movie, Jill? When did you see it, and how many times?
Just once. I'm really like a movie if I see it, more than once. Yeah. Probably the weekend it came out, I think, which is unusual for me because I don't like people sitting next to me in the theater, so I usually wait for a while. But I think we went and saw this the first weekend it came out.
Nice.
Wait a minute, you don't like people sitting next to you? Does that mean you reserve the seats on either side of you as well?
No, well, I'm kind of from a smallish town, and usually our movies aren't sold out, and sometimes we go to matinees just for that reason, just to not be all squished in with somebody.
That's
like
right.
It ruins the whole experience.
Or you go to the theater with the leather recliners. Those are nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have those.
Oh, you don't.
We just got them.
I'm sorry.
What city now, Dave? You're in Virginia Beach, right?
I'm in Chesapeake, right next to Virginia Beach. Yeah.
Okay. Dwayne, where are you?
I'm in Athens, Alabama, which is right in the middle of Birmingham and Nashville.
Okay.
Boom, right in the middle. So, I have seen it twice. I saw it once with my wife. She loves the new Star Trek series, and then I saw it by myself last weekend when my family was away, and there was nothing else on that I wanted to see, so I went to see it again. How about you, David? I'm sorry. What, Joe? What, Joe?
I was just going to ask how it played the second time for you.
Good question.
Were you bored, or were you seeing stuff you didn't see?
The second time you saw Minions, you didn't like it, but was it because you were by yourself?
Wait, what? Minions? We're not talking about Minions?
3 times or something?
I don't remember Minions. I made it through it the second time. It didn't really hold my interest as much the second time.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm honestly not too thrilled with the story myself on this one. So it was a letdown from the first two. I mean, compare the writing of the first one and then compare the writing of the second one, and this one's just okay, we got fooled, now we go save our people, we're done. Yeah, I'm not going to be an admiral, I'm going to go ahead and stay a captain. Yeah. It just wasn't as good to me.
Can you name a movie that got better the second time you saw it?
Right off the top of my head?
Inception.
God, you'd have to see that 30
Revenant.
times.
The 5th time, it was amazing. The 7th time, it just blew me away. It's one of my favorite all-time movies.
Okay, I have now seen Revenant 3 or 4 times, and it's better every time.
Really? Why?
Mm-hmm. I just love the movie. Yeah.
Okay.
It's physically exhausting, that movie.
It is. It is tough to watch. Ocean's 11's fun to watch more than once. But no, seriously. I mean, for me, it didn't have the same. It wasn't as smart as the first two. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't challenge me intellectually like the first two did, I guess. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. I loved the character, the white face, whatever her name is.
Jayla?
Yeah, I really liked her, and I liked her interaction with the. Tell me his name, David.
Scotty.
Scotty. Yeah, with Scotty. I'm horrible with names.
Yeah, you are. This is Dr. Jill, by the way, that we're talking to.
Yeah. So y'all liked it better, I assume.
It was on my list to see right away, and in fact, I saw Dr. Jill's post, and I think that she was going to see it. And I said, oh, that's right, it comes out this weekend, I had to see it. But everything got wrapped up, and my 2 daughters are gone to college this past week, and I finally got to see it this week. But my oldest one is at local because she's in grad school, so she was over here painting, and I called 2 guys, or I texted them and said, hey, I need to go see this movie today. I'm talking about it Monday night, and both of them were tied up. One had already seen it. And then my oldest come down and says, you going to see a movie? I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess you might want to go. And then I showed Davis the trailer, tried to get him to see it. He's 12, and he's like, I'm worried that I won't get it because I haven't seen the first 2. I said, look, you're 12. Shut up and go see the movie with me. And he said, while he's got his game controller in his hand.
Yeah.
And
will there be Pokemon there I can catch?
But the funny thing was, when I showed him the trailer, it was a trailer I hadn't seen, and it was the latest trailer, which I thought was the most amazing trailer, because the first trailer was all about action. It wasn't about story. And the last trailer they put out was more about story, and I'm like, dude, this trailer is amazing. It's got me more excited about this movie, because I wasn't sure how to feel about it. So anyway, I went and saw it with Bailey. We saw it a later time, since we weren't doing this last night. And I saw it with her, and then she headed back to school, and I came back home, and I enjoyed it. There were a few things that caught me off guard in the beginning, but the more I think about the movie, the more I like the movie. Yeah. But I felt like Kirk said it right when he said things are feeling episodic, because it did. It felt like a full-blown episode of Star Trek, especially if you watched a lot of Next Generation. Not every episode was a physical battle. A lot of them were mental battles, or maneuvering and stuff. And this was a maneuvering battle that had physical stuff in it. But then again, when you look at the guy that directed it, the guy that's done like 3 Fast and Furious movies, actually he's done 4, you knew you were going to have things flying through buildings and things flying across things, and I was almost getting motion sickness in the whatever the space center was. Every time that thing rolled, I couldn't figure out where I was. But it was really good, and the more I think about it, the more I like it, because let me give you the facts real quick. Like you asked, it cost $185 million to make. As of Sunday night, last night, it had made $146.9 million here in the States. Already made $84 million overseas, so it's already made its budget back.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, Justin Lin directed it. He did Fast and Furious 3, 4, 5, and 6, which if you do 4 movies of a series, that's pretty good. Funny thing was, this was the second script. This script was written by Doug Jung and Simon Pegg, who Dwaine doesn't know, but that's Scotty.
Oh, yeah.
Simon Pegg. He wrote it.
Oh, wow.
Now, let me
He's
tell you,
funny. I like him.
He is funny.
Let me read you some little tidbits about this. I'm very much, Dr. Jill, if I like something, I'm going to go to Wiki and dig into it. I want to hear everything about the past, everything how it came to be. And it's really neat because the first guy they chose to direct, Robert Orsi, he began writing a script, and they said they really want to get a sense back to exploration and wonder. They want to go back to what Star Trek stood for, the kind of optimistic sense of the future that Star Trek has always kind of had as its core. But in January of last year, that director left. They brought in Lin, and then Simon Pegg and Doug Jung were hired to rewrite the screenplay. And they said that Paramount said we had a script for Star Trek that wasn't really working for them. I think the studio was worried it might be a little too Trekky. And the funny thing was, I think this script was kind of Trekky because it was very much like an episode. It was about dealing with things back and forth. But what Simon Pegg brought to it was comedy, obviously. That's what he's known for. But he also brought his sense of family. And he felt like I think he thought that he was having to write a script to please the public. Not so much, get people to go see a movie. May not be Star Trek fans. That's kind of what the bottom dollar is about, getting more people to come see it. But at the same time, I think they put together a really good Star Trek-like episode. I thought it was really good. So, but anyway, that's where that came from.
Who is your favorite? Well, Jill, what did you think of it?
I'm probably more on the side with you, Dwaine. It's starting to feel sort of formulaic. Like I think that the new cast they have has very, very good chemistry. Like every single person they cast, I think is very, very good in their part. I was a little preoccupied with Anton Yelchin. Every time I look at him, it's like, is that the guy that died? He died. That's so sad that he died.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that going on in the movie. But it just seems like there's some minor crisis in the beginning. They get over it. They come cohesively. They battle some sort of evil humanoid guide humanoid adversary who's got it in for the human race, and then it looks really bleak for him, and then they kind of overcome it. And I think I am a Trekkie in the sense that I really like the original series with all the exploration, which I loved, and I like just kind of the just bizarre and whimsical stuff they get into. I mean, you remember the tribbles and those like flying pizza things that attached onto Spock's back, and when they did the Greek gods, and it was just so like just bizarre. And I don't know if you could make a movie out of that, but I think you could incorporate some of that in there. But to me, this was very, when I look at this other guy and the difference between him and Benedict Cumberbatch's evil guy, I'm like, it just feels like the same movie to me.
Yeah.
See, now I kind of felt that way when at the very, very, very end, I thought, that's kind of like the same ones as last. But there were some points in the movie that I really appreciated about. See, a lot of people didn't like number 2, Into Darkness, and I'm going to be biased. Anything that Benedict Cumberbatch does, I'm pretty much going to like. Anything, he's one of my favorite actors. I love Sherlock, and he's just amazing. I can't wait for Doctor Strange, and I loved Into the Darkness. But a lot of people didn't like it, and even J.J. Abrams admits that he brought too much. He paid too much homage to Wrath of Khan. He brought too much from that movie, which was the iconic movie of Star Trek. He brought too much from that movie into his movie, and he feels that was a mistake. Whereas I still enjoyed it. I didn't pick a lot of that story. I got more out of this story because in the sense that this was the part of Star Trek we never saw. Did we ever really see Kirk get bored? I mean, he's 3 years into his 5-year journey, and he's like, this is mundane. This is like the side of the show we didn't see, in my opinion, because we see him go into his closet like, oh, what am I wearing today? Oh, one of those. one of those yellow shirts that I always have to wear, and it was different. And when he first talked about applying for the admiral position, I'm like, what? That is not James T. Kirk. He would not go for a desk job and give up space cowboy job. But then you got to think, this isn't the Kirk from the first timeline. This is the Kelvin Kirk, because he renamed his timeline to Kelvin from his dad's ship that blew up and changed the timeline. So this is a different Kirk. This isn't William Shatner's. This is Bruce Pine's. He didn't grow up with his father, who was in Starfleet. He didn't grow up with that person. He grew up with his mom and then a stepdad, yada yada. So he's a different person. He's not sure he wants to do this forever for the whole full 5 years. So that explains to me more as to why he applied for the admiral job. But he and Spock still came together, obviously why he recommended him. So that part I kind of bought. I love the Spock storyline, where he's really going through this fight about reviving Vulcan and taking over from Master Spock. I love that storyline. But to me, that's more about what this movie was about. Was about them making their personal decisions, because this group was kind of thrown together. Whereas I think in the first timeline they were kind of grown into, but it seemed like they really were thrown together for these 3 movies as a crew. It was about them coming together as a crew. That's what I got out of it.
Okay, I had a problem, and there's actually some things that I really like about the movie that I can't wait to talk about. But I had a problem with him Commander Spock telling Bones that he broke up with Uhura, however you pronounce her name, because he felt like he needed to keep the Vulcan line going. The dude's half Vulcan. I mean, he's not keeping the Vulcan line going by going with the Vulcan woman. It's still a tainted line. So to me, I didn't really buy that. I just thought it was a way for them to kind of get that little tension in there between him and Lieutenant Uhura, however you pronounce her name. So I don't know. Did that catch y'all at all, or did you just like, okay, fine, whatever? Apparently not.
Oh, no, let her talk first a second.
Well, I wouldn't. No, it didn't strike me as well. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, and that goes along with the whole kind of formulaic, contrived feel of the movie. Logically, it makes sense that if you are part Vulcan, it's better than no Vulcan, and instead of bleeding out your line further because you have no planet and no Vulcans, you'd want to sort of like breed back into things. So that, from his standpoint, from a Spock standpoint, that's makes sense. But I definitely feel what you're saying about the and that's what you do when you redo a romantic comedy too, right? There's some misunderstanding, and they break up, and the whole movie is them getting back together.
That's right. And he has a GPS on her neck and stuff.
That formula drives me nuts. Guy screws up, they make up, get back.
Which I did like the way Bones handled that. I thought that was really good.
I'll get to that. That was hilarious. That's probably my favorite joke in the whole movie.
Yeah.
But my first thought was the same as Dwayne's. Dude, you're not even full Vulcan. So what are you going to be doing? But at the same time, I understand him. It's like, because in the first movie he left the Vulcan Science Academy because they didn't like his mom was half human or was human. So that he kind of moved away. But now that his planet's been destroyed, he feels obligated to go back, and even more. And this was before he knew about Spock. So now he even feels even more obligated to go back and finish to do it. But it's also about his destiny, and I think that's what this movie was about. So is he going to have the same struggle in the next movie? Are we finally saying, all right, so Spock's now in? Right? He's not going back. He's not changing again. He's locked in. So the same thing with Kirk.
Seriously, he can stay in love with Lieutenant Uhura and go donate to some bank over there in Vulcan and have all the Vulcan kids he wants and still be in love with Lieutenant. Right? I mean, I'm just saying.
Did you do that soundbite on purpose, or was that just perfectly timed?
What soundbite?
I heard a phone tone when you said what I think you were going to say.
No, I didn't know.
That was my phone.
That was Jill. She was anticipating it.
You did well.
Okay, how cool is it? I mean, is this not a trope of all Star Trek that, Captain Kirk would have been dead had it not been for someone just happened to be there to save his life? I mean, does this not happen like all the time in the Star Trek series? First of all, since when do captains and all all the major people go on away missions, but still. But that's a whole Star Trek trope
This was
too.
this was kind of a forced away mission. They were all kind of blown out.
Well,
of
yeah, I know. But and this doesn't happen a lot in this series. But how cool was it? You know, he and who was he with? Was he with Chekhov?
Yeah, he was with Chekhov.
He and Chekhov were out running, and then boom, they're stuck, man. They're dead. If it wasn't for you know, Scotty and the girl, I just always like how that happens. You know,
See,
if I almost died as many times as Kirk almost died, I'd be a scared man to walk outside.
I kind of wish somehow in the movies they'd capture more of those, like the first initial, only 2 years of the show on, because there's like certain things. So there was a certain degree of just that mystery of just truly bizarre. Your bad guy wasn't human. There was other things and those kind of things. And then remember Ensign Smith, you know, when like there was like Kirk, Spock, Bones, and Ensign Smith. So guess who gets it, you know?
Right.
Just like little things like that. It's like I think would be like kind of cool. And then maybe that would come across as super contrived in a movie. I don't know. I don't. Well, now,
Jill, they did that in the first one. Remember, you had your red shirt guy that died on the way as he fell. Right? You did have that.
I guess it would have been too
much. Kirk and the third guy, went down to the drill. And see, that's like the favorite part of Galaxy Quest, where Sam Rockwell is the guy that doesn't have a name. I never had a name. I'm the guy that's going to get killed at the planet. So.
Galaxy Quest is a hilarious movie. Jill, have you ever seen that?
No, but I was reading a tribute to Alan Rickman, and I want to.
It's very funny.
I'm gonna tell you, that's another one that gets better the more I see it. And I don't watch it a lot. I just watch it at random times. But if it's on, I'll just stop the channel changing and watch the rest of it. It's so funny, especially after watching Star Trek.
My favorite Star Trek episode ever is a Next Generation one, where Captain Picard, he goes, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but he ends up living an entire life on this planet, all right? And he knows that he's Captain Picard, but they tell him, no, you're not. This is just something that you dreamed up. And he believes it. So after he's been there for years and years and years and raised a family and all this stuff, and he learns to play this little flute, and his entire life, and he finally gives up on him being Captain Picard. He just thought that that's some dream. Then at the very end, he wakes back up, and it's been like 10 seconds. He's lived an entire life, and what this race, well, I'm not going to tell you what the ending is, but he has his little flute with him at the end. There was no fighting in the thing. It was just him living an entire life, and then he comes back. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, I really am Captain Picard." My favorite episode ever of all Star Treks.
That would never be made into a movie, because that's why they got Justin Lin instead of Rob Reiner, because they wanted action.
Well, I understand that. It's still my favorite episode. I just thought I'd tell y'all what my favorite episode.
Wait. Could he play the flute?
Yes.
Could he play it?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Was it a flute or a recorder? I thought it was
a little recorder thing.
Yeah.
Basically, what it was this.
Does it matter?
Yeah, really.
Yes.
This was a long lost alien group of people that designed this thing that would go out and capture someone and have them live an entire life in like this dream world, so that they would be remembered. That's basically what they did. It was really cool. So anyway, so do y'all have a favorite Star Trek episode?
I have a couple. One was, I want to say, what's her face? Crosby on the Next Generation. She was a security officer before war, and there was a time parallel. Gosh, the purposes I've seen it, where there was two Starfleet from the past met up with Starfleet from the present, and there was a point where there was some sort of anomaly coming up where they had a chance to go back into their timeline. The older Starfleet, and Tasha Yar, these Crosby, went back with them to help them, because they knew that once that ship went back to where it was supposed to be in the timeline, it was going to get destroyed. And she wanted to go back with them and help them try to fight out of it. And Picard's like, I think he was like, I can't send you back in good conscience, but the captain was like, we have to go back, because that's this future doesn't happen if we don't go back. And that was a really complex and really thought-provoking episode. I really liked that. Like you're talking about an episode itself that you like. At the same time, I kind of like the one also when Riker would go to sleep and then would be woken up seconds later, feeling like he hadn't slept at all. And it's because he was getting zapped out by aliens in the middle of the night and then put back into his bed. And it's kind of like the episode you're talking about, but it happened to him every night. LeVar Burton would be waking him up 5 seconds later. Come on, man, you overslept again.
Yeah.
And but it's funny that some of our favorite episodes don't involve chasing bad guys.
Yeah.
It's just about the action and the story of Star Trek.
Was there an alien that Riker didn't want to be with? I'm just saying.
No. Wait. Is that how I've said that?
Riker was a player, man. Riker was a player.
He was also engaged, I thought, to Troy the whole time. But anyway.
Yeah, and he was still a player.
Dr. Jill, get us off this topic, please. Is there a favorite episode of yours?
Yeah, mine would be from the original series, of course. And I had probably two. One would be where they were, I don't even remember, it was in the cave, and the alien, again, was really off the wall. It looked like a giant turd, actually, and it was where the iconic, damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer, and they had to repair it with cement, and those things are just really cool to me. And the other one was a little more cerebral. It's where they, that captain, and it was basically just a head in a box that didn't even look sophisticated, but he was living this fabulous life on this planet where he had this beautiful wife, and it turns out that the aliens put him back together, only it was real flawed, and she was disfigured and he was disfigured. Do you remember the one? It was Captain Pike. Oh, come on, man.
I'm sorry.
Who gave Dave, you gave yourself a 7.5, Captain Pike?
That's a very short-term series. I do know Captain Pike, but that's a short-term series.
Oh my gosh! All right.
I have to go back and watch all those again. But I was going to make a point. Okay.
What point were you going to make?
Well, one thing about this, one thing I didn't like about the movie. I'm going to go back to the movie for a second.
Okay.
Was I didn't feel like enough time was given to our bad guys. I felt like they tried to give us a pill to tell us their whole backstory. Instead of, I didn't like the video where she realized who he was. Seriously? Was it his voice? At least give him a saying. You can take that to the bank. That wasn't a bad scene in the movie. But, give him something to say that he says to her. As soon as she said, how did you learn our language? I said, oh, because he's got past, he's got history. I didn't quite get to where it was, but it was almost kind of predictable as to who he was or where he came from. But I didn't like how they just kind of summed it up in a video. I wish they'd have built more of his backstory because I didn't quite understand everything about his story until the end.
Yeah.
And I'll admit, I even went on Wikipedia to read more about the plot, and basically, because I heard some guys talking about the movie saying, well, his crew were those soldiers. Well, no, that's not what they were. They were the minions that they found that working in the mines that he turned into soldiers in all their spacesuits, which is why they wore suits and his people didn't. Only 3 people survived from his crew, and that was Manus and then the girl that pretended to be the captain of the lost ship, that went and brought Star Enterprise there. So, I actually had to read some of the plot online just to get the whole plot. I didn't feel like that was really explained very well. Maybe I just missed it. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but I really thought they kind of wrote the whole script and said, all right, at some point we got to tell his story. All right, let's have her walk past the video screen and see this guy that kind of sounds like him, but he's obviously a human from Starfleet. Yeah. I did like the story. I did like where he came from. I understood that he was military and he was a fighter. It's kind of like, General Zod and Superman. General Zod was military. He wanted to fight. Russell Crowe didn't want to fight. But I don't know. I just didn't like the way they got to it. I thought it was a good story, a good twist. I just didn't like the way he evolved.
Well, and then it's also like what Jill was talking about. It's just another human. I want some weird, strange alien. This whole beehive thing was incredible. I totally did not expect the Enterprise to be totally just torn apart and them abandoned ship. And it was just incredible. But then it ends up just being some captain from a long time ago. And to me, that I would have rather it been some alien that they had never encountered before. I would have preferred that.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It almost feels recycled, like y'all said about the second movie was a previous character brought back. That was almost a remake of the Wrath of Khan movie. They're bringing back Khan, and they kept saying, "Oh, it's not him. He's not playing that part. But he is playing the part. He's not playing it. He is." That kind of to me
Right.
took away from it a little bit because it was obvious that he was going to be. They had a great actor for it, but at the same time, it was a retread. And this was, I mean, this wasn't so much an exploration as it was a survival. They basically were taking a break from their mission, the third of their 5-year mission. They took a break and they were attacked.
Yeah.
Anything about exploration, anything about what this Enterprise is supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And this new station that they have, it's pretty incredible. it's way out there, and yet it's still full of people. And yet I thought they said it was new. Anyway, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. I thought I was going to be able to give you some Spock isms, but they're not playing on my thing, so I'm sorry, I can't do it.
I can tell you that if Terry had gone with me, she probably would have got motion sickness when they first got to that space station.
Yeah.
That just rolled, and I was waiting to see what happened. And I'll be honest, I would rather somebody had.
I don't know what he's saying. Do you know what he's saying, Joe?
No. Is he blanking out for you too?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
me. Well, and then sometimes when they have these like bad guys be bad guys, again with the contrivedness, like I understand people go crazy and bad things happen, but did you buy his transformation?
Mm.
Because if somebody's military, I mean, you look at like, I don't know if you saw the video, but there's this video of this like pole vaulter who's warming up in the Olympics, and he's tearing down the runway, and the national anthem plays, and he comes to a dead stop and stands at attention. I mean, it's just so ingrained to you to be, I don't know, I just don't buy this instant transformation, and like David was saying with the whole video, explain like, oh, this is what happened, and yeah, I agree, he had a weak backstory, and really in the end was a kind of a not even a very impressive villain.
Yeah, and they got an incredible actor to play it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't even know how to say his name, Idris Elba, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, oh my gosh, he's a great actor. Man, but I agree with you. His character to me wasn't as well, anyway.
I would rather they have given him minimal prosthetics, let it be him. And
Yeah,
then
let it be him. I didn't even know it was him until he started changing. You know?
Well, if you do that, you just get into like a super retread. It's just basically a different Benedict Cumberbatch from the last movie. I mean, you have to have some sort of alien something.
Yeah, he wasn't an alien.
Well, yeah, well, they made him look like one, so they're at
Right.
least holding your interest. But a bunch of humans attacking. Whoops.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys this: like, if you could script the next movie, which I'm pretty sure it's just going to be, because I heard some. Dave, do you guys know about this? Some internet rumor that you know who played his dad in the first movie, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
he's
know
coming
his
back from
name.
the fourth movie. Yeah,
Right, Chris Hemsworth. So it'll be a big dad thing that I never got.
What?
Dad. What? You didn't know that?
How's he going to come
Yeah.
back?
Kirk and Spock have already signed for the next movie.
How's he gonna come back?
Yeah.
They'll do some time travel crap or put him
That's
on a
what she's
plane.
asking you. How would you write them?
Oh no! I wouldn't write that. That's not my movie. My movie would be. Well, that was kind of my question. Is like, what would you script in a movie? Because some of these little episodes that we like as our favorite wouldn't fly on the big screen. And you
Right.
can
Exactly.
work around that, which is why you have all the crashing and this and that and the other thing. So, what is your perfect movie? Who is your perfect villain?
Oh man.
While you're pondering that, I'll tell you mine. Like mine would be basically one of those, I don't know, some sort of a amorphous blob or getting back into the, like, remember how crappy the special effects work, and they just show this little like cloud of light moving around, and it was just
Yeah.
horrible special effects. But just infecting one person then the other, so you could really get into the depth of the crew, and then throw in some sort of like physical challenges, strand them. It's always good to have sort of a timing, ticking time bomb kind of thing. So you're running out of life support. You need to get off the planet. Done incredibly well with the Matt Damon movie when they were stranded on the planet with the waves.
Martian. Yeah.
What was that? Wait.
Martian.
No, not
No,
Martian.
no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking. Which one am I thinking?
Oh, well, now there was.
Oh no, was that Interstellar?
Oh, that's Matthew McConaughey, yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Matthew McConaughey. But they were on the planet with the waves, and then
Right.
you can see this wave coming towards them, and all of a sudden they had
Right.
all the time to run. Just so you build stuff into that, and I'm saying I'm not sure you need a villain at all, or if you, I don't know, maybe it's I don't know. What do you
See,
guys
that's
think?
funny because what you're describing as the bad guy is kind of like from the Voyage Home, where this black mass was just consuming Starfleet and these planets until they figured out it was speaking whale talk, and they went back and got whales and spoke to it. So that's
Oh my.
it's kind of like a villain that you that you can't talk to, but you got to stop. I mean, but that's part of exploration, you know.
Well, then what would you get? Would you get a really scary villain that's like all toothy and clawy, or
Man, let's get the Borg back.
No, I was about to say whatever we do.
I mean, come on, no, the
We just
Borg.
had them. We just had them, and we had a good movie with the Next Generation and the Borg.
Okay,
that was a good
Q.
movie.
I mean, talk about some
Now
great
Q would be
villains.
different.
Q,
I was about to say that was the
Borg.
thought that I forgot. That was the thought that I forgot. Almost any episode with Q, I liked. That was
Yes.
another episode
I
I
mean,
liked.
he's like invincible. He's amazing.
He's the hero of the Voyager crew. I think he sent them back to where they belong. But I don't know. I would rather it be something similar to Khan, more diabolical and not necessarily violent or destructive. But having I liked how, like even with I don't know, with the villains that have ulterior motives. You know, you think it's one thing, but it's actually another. You know, and it's I don't know. I don't like being able to predict the movie. That's one of my big things.
Okay,
I
I
like
want
being
the villain.
surprised. It doesn't have to be a twist. I just like surprises.
I want the villain to not be a person or an alien that like you can talk to, but something that is so out there that you just have no idea what you're going to do to take care of this thing because you don't even know what it is, and it just keeps doing more stuff, and you can't talk to it, and you can't rationalize with it, you can't do all that stuff that you can do with or beat it up and fight it. It's that I'd love to see something like that where they have to outsmart this thing that is
All right,
killing them.
then go back and watch the very first Star Trek movie. Have you seen that?
Which one? What are you talking about?
The first Captain Kirk, Spock, the first movie.
But see, I have a hard time watching Captain Kirk in the later ones. I just,
Oh, that's right. You don't like the old one.
I
Now, he's
just-
not old enough.
No,
but
I like the original series. I don't like the movies very much.
Well, the first movie is much different than the second, third, fourth. I mean, after Khan, it's much. They're obviously older and different.
Yeah.
So.
Oh well.
No, but I like your point about the villain being something they've got to think about. They got to figure out, like, what if, since we've already heard that, and I hate to be spoilers if you haven't heard this, but that if Daddy Kirk is coming back, what if when he flew the Kelvin into that was a Romulan ship to try and destroy it or fight it, he was actually beamed into another time parallel or another time, displacement, and they came. So Kirk got contacted by the people that caught him and have him, and he's still alive. He's being held, and Kirk has to bring them Starfleet information, like the code for the shields, like they did in the older movie, where once you figure out the shield correlation, whatever the configuration is, you can actually shoot a missile through their shields. But what if they were threatening Starfleet, but it was his dad? He had to choose between his dad, Starfleet, or some contrived thing of that nature, that he was still alive. That would be personable. I don't know. I like the team effort. I like the team effort that came out of this movie. I like that it wasn't just one person. I like that everybody had a story. I love that Bones and Spock were stuck together. And Spock wasn't 100%, so he had to rely on Bones. If Bones had to do it. I loved when Spock got beamed first.
Yeah, that
Bones
was
sit there and say,
funny.
well, that figures.
Yeah.
And then he gets beamed out too. So I did like the team effort, but I could see it being more of a solo thing where it's more about Kirk, and especially if it's about his dad. I hope it's not a flashback episode. Or somehow, if Chris Hemsworth's coming back, he's going to be in the movie. And I wonder if it's where he got picked, he got zapped. He didn't get destroyed in the crash. He actually got pulled out by another, maybe a smarter, maybe a Q like alien race. But now they're
Yes.
going to hold a ransom
Q
because
came in and saved him.
he still has him.
Well, what
And
I see
then-
happening from that is that Chris Hemsworth goes into, let's do another alternate timeline since they're so ubiquitous and easy to come by, and then
That's right.
somehow the Enterprise, is it the Enterprise again? Is the new ship an Enterprise too?
Oh,
Okay.
sure.
So it crash lands there or whatever, and so initially they'll be pitted against each other because they're really not at first going to know each other because Chris Hemsworth certainly is going to not recognize his 30-year-old son, and so if the guy's got if Chris Hemsworth is all bearded up and not clean cut like he was in the movie, they could actually be fighting against each other, and then they would obviously have to unite against a common enemy and blah blah blah, forge those bonds.
Yes.
Like if he's been brainwashed in this. See, there's another one. What Q could impersonate Kirk's father and show up. So there is actually Chris Hemsworth, but it's actually an alien posing.
How old is the guy that played Q? Let me look that up. The elderly Q. Oh man, John Delancey played Q.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not too old. He's not too old at all. He was born in 1948. So he's 67, 58, something like that. If my math is
Really?
right.
It's not old at all.
No.
So now you got me really interested in the next movie. That could be more about a mind bender than just a physical thing. This one was physical, but at the same time, I kind of went in expecting that. I love the motorcycle thing where she was able to send out multiple versions of him on the motorcycle. I thought that was really cool. The distraction and everything. Of course, it was a little far-fetched when he told her to jump, and it perfectly timed that all they had to do was lock two hands together, and one particular spot had to be perfect, but that was good. And you knew she was going to fight Manus, who killed her father, and you knew that was going to come out, but I still found it enjoyable.
That's an interesting point. We haven't talked much about that. The female lead, I guess, heroine, if you will. What do you guys think of her?
See, I liked her a lot. I liked her character. I liked that she escaped from Crawl. I liked how her and Scotty had the opposite. She liked the loud music playing, stuff like that, and he's the more traditional. I like how what's the word? Ingenuitive? That's probably not a word.
Mm-hmm.
But do what?
I'm not going to correct you then.
Anyway, I liked her, and I liked how she interacted with the crew of the Enterprise.
Yeah, that was good placement. That they gave her the most senior, I guess, one of the more, like you said, the opposite. So she had to work, but at the same time, they were both mechanical. So they did really on that aspect.
Right.
And I thought at first she was a little too trusting of him, but then again, she knew exactly who the bad people were. She knew who the soldiers were, and his insignia on his shirt is what gave her pause.
Right.
And to me, that was a great reveal. I love that moment where she revealed the ship and showed that, and that's just like, wow, there's history here. This has been going on for a while. I still didn't put together it was Carl's, ship, but I was like, this is pretty cool. And I'm like, well, there's their ride home. So my only thing was, that ship's in pretty good shape. How did that ship get there? Still working, But that was cool. It was part of the story. But I love the reveal. It was almost like the reveal in the very first movie, But it was kind of cool that it worked. That she was able. That kind of sold it to me that she trusted him because she saw the insignia.
Right.
How did you get that? So.
Right. And then, I forgot what I was going to say.
I didn't like her because she wasn't perfect. Go ahead.
Well, I like her because she was cool looking. I mean, when's the last time you saw a chick this cool looking? She kind of was like the good Darth Maul. I just thought she was neat looking.
Or the girl in the Matrix, lady, whatever her name was.
Carrie-Anne Moss?
Yeah, you know how she was all in that black and she was so cool and she could beat everybody up? She was kind of like that.
Okay. Well, I was going with the makeup, but and sometimes, like when they cast these females in these roles and they're beating up guys. I mean, I'm an athletic girl, but it's just I look at that and I'm like, that just doesn't happen, Right. It just doesn't happen. And so somebody has to be like almost like a superpower or have something like that before it's believable to me. But she pulled it off fairly well.
Well, yeah, she pulled it off because she was creative and she engineered ways to fool them. So she didn't really beat them up because she was stronger than them. She outsmarted them.
But
Right.
there is some physical battle,
I
and
know, but
like I buy it from Mystique because she's this freakish athlete and stuff, in the X-Men
yeah,
series.
yeah,
But like in a lot of movies, they'll have some like tiny little supermodel just kicking the crap out of these guys, and I'm just
yeah,
like, right.
yeah.
I like that they dressed her as like a scavenger or like a survivor. But like Dwayne said, I like that she had to use a little ingenuity to beat them. It was like they thought they were facing 8 of her at one time.
Yeah,
They
I
didn't know
also
where they were
like,
swinging, so that was smart.
and you're right. I did love her makeup and that whole get up. I liked it a lot. Yeah, she was a good character.
And I liked how she sat in the captain's chair too.
Yeah, and see, I didn't like the captain that fooled Kirk. I didn't really like that character very much. I mean, even when I first saw her, I didn't much care for that character. I was kind of hoping she'd be a bad person or something.
I didn't care for how fast they just ran headlong into where she said they had to go. I
Yeah,
mean, why would you only take one ship? Or is it? Well, I guess they sold that and said, well, the Enterprise is the only ship that could do what she needs it to do.
yeah.
Because we
Even
are
though
back in that time.
even though we
We're
built
not.
this amazing space station, the
Yeah,
Enterprise is the only
exactly.
ship. Yeah,
It's never been seen before.
yeah. So anyway, I would recommend the movie. I mean, popcorn rating. Let's see, what do we have? We have Kitty, small, medium, large, and bucket.
Bucket.
Right. So I'm going to give it a medium.
See,
And I'm going to give it a medium, and I'm going to add a little butter to it.
Okay. Okay, that's just above medium. See, on the other hand, I'm one of those that I'm going to go see a superhero movie no matter how bad the ratings are.
Oh,
Because you
yes.
just can't make a bad superhero movie to me because I love superhero movies. I love seeing my comics up on the screen. I'm just a fan. So this movie to me wasn't about did they tell the right story? Did they get the characters right? Was the hair right? Was the insignia straight? This was about Star Trek on the screen. And there was enough in it for me to love that I'm going to give it a large, not a bucket, but a large. Definitely recommend seeing it in the theater with surround sound. It's amazing with surround sound.
Well, yeah.
But I would give it a large bucket. And
Wait,
I would
a large
put
bucket?
No, I'm sorry, a large, not a bucket,
Okay.
but a large with a little bit of butter. Not full butter, but with a little bit of
Just
butter.
a little dab of butter.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Jill?
You guys are fudging on the popcorn with the butter there, but I think Dwayne and I have been pretty simpatico on this movie from the get-go, and I was exactly the same way. Now, and that being said, it's really hard when you take a blockbuster movie that you go to, you know it's going to be good, you expect it to be good, you want it to be good, and it's very, very rare for that movie to be able to deliver a bucket. It just, it really is. I've found that. And your buckets tend to be movies that you go in and you didn't hear much about, and you come out and you're like, oh my gosh, that was so good, or you heard it sucked, and then you went in, like Suicide Squad. I thought it was fantastic, but I went in, I was like, oh, I heard it was terrible. Well, anyways, as far as this goes, so I'm right there with Dwayne, somewhere between a medium and a large, so I guess it's a medium with butter.
That's right. Or a large and pour some out.
All right, so in that sense, let's name just take a second. I know we all want to go to sleep, but just take a second and tell me some bucket with butter movies.
I get to go first.
Oh, yeah, you get your first. Go ahead.
Well, that's because I don't want you to steal my movie.
Go ahead.
This movie, my son took me to see. I hadn't seen any previews. I knew nothing about it. Interstellar. I left totally in awe and could not wait to see it again.
See, that was more a large without butter for me.
Sorry, man. That's a bucket
It
for
wasn't
me.
quite a bucket for me.
Man, it was good. Intellectual, good. Oh, good movie.
Well, I already talked about Inception. To me, that's a bucket with butter. But another bucket with butter movie for me was Seven, with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman.
Well,
Kevin
yeah.
Spacey. I guess that's kind of older, so I guess I'm kind of cheating there. But that to me is a full-on bucket with butter and then go get a refill. I mean, to me, I love crime movies and I love thrillers, and to me, that's just one of those perfect movies. Took one of the best actors out there right now, and you only put him in the last 5 minutes, and he still almost steals the movie. Then yeah, that's just an amazing, amazing movie.
All right, how about you, Dr. Jill?
I racking my brain. I wasn't expecting the question, so even though it was my idea, I guess I would just have to tell you my favorite movie of all time. It's fantastic because it's just one of those movies that has just like everything. Last of the Mohicans.
Oh, that is a good movie.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I
Really?
haven't seen that in a long time.
I will find you. I don't know
Yeah,
how
well,
I'll
mock it. But I just saw it, and I told that to one of my friends. He's like, "Oh, that is such a chick flick." I'm like, "Really?" Because they rip a guy's heart out of his chest. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure where you
Yeah.
go with the whole chick
Wow.
flick thing. But I mean, it's just smart, and the guy was smart, and it was the fight scene on the rocks with the dad and the really bad Indian, and the music. Oh, the soundtrack was fantastic. It was romance, it was adventure. I just think it was like a complete movie, and I think I didn't expect much either, but that's one I can just watch over and over and over again.
Huh.
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to go
So
back and watch it.
I got a question for you. Have you seen this year's Tarzan movie?
I have not.
Dwayne and I saw it on a double date. He and Connie came to our house for about a week, and we got to go see it on more of a chick flick. I think I can't. Well, Terry saw it twice. She saw it with a bunch of women before, but then we went and saw it again. I came out of that movie saying, we got to do a podcast about that movie. I was
And
so
we did.
impressed because it was so much more than I thought it was going to be. It was a different story than I thought it was going to be, and I just loved it. And it's got 2/3, 67% of the movie is historical. That really got my juices flowing. I thought that was awesome. Tarzan, of course, was the 1/3 that wasn't historical, but the storyline behind the plot of the movie is factually based on history. And I thought that was amazing. I love that part of it. That was really good.
Cool. I love to hear about movies that you otherwise just never would go see and ended up being, good. So thank you.
Yeah.
Also, was it Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies? That was pretty good.
That was awesome.
Really?
Yes, it was.
It's the
Okay.
best way to watch Pride and Prejudice.
We got to check off Pride and Prejudice, and we
That's
got to see
right.
zombies.
That's right. Oh man. Well, guess what we're going to talk about on Sunday night, Jill? We're going to have Kelly Wentworth and Cass McQuillan on.
Ooh, that promises to be excellent.
Oh yeah, and we're going to talk about probably one of the best series I've seen since Lost.
Wait. Stranger Things?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it is so good. And Sunday night we will be having probably a marathon episode about Stranger Things. So
See, you rightfully got mad at me because I should have stopped at episode 1 and told you to start watching it. But we would have never had time to do 8 podcasts.
No, we couldn't.
However,
but,
when season 2 comes around, I think we should do a episode by episode podcast.
I don't know because the whole way of watching TV is changing.
Yes.
It is now a series comes out on Netflix or something, and you watch the entire thing. They release the whole series at once. Instead of like when Lost, you have to wait a whole week to see who's in the coffin, or something like that, or what the heck is with the big foot, and there's smoke and why is there a polar bear? So,
Or you DVR it and watch it whenever you get to it.
Well, yeah.
Sure.
Well, yeah, you still DVR it, but you still have to wait, to watch it. But anyway, so we're going to talk about Stranger Things.
I just got tired of people talking about it around me, and I couldn't listen to it because I didn't know what they were talking about. And I kept seeing all this stuff about it being so good. So, all right, fine, I'll watch it. So I was like,
Okay.
wow. I'll watch it over 2 days.
So I'm an 80s kid. So I was in 83 when this was. I was, how old did I say I was? 14 years old. So I was a little older than they were. But I was an 80s kid, so I saw E.T., I saw The Shining, I saw all these movies in the 80s. And there's a video, I put it on our I put it on our Twitter. I tweeted about it. There's a YouTube video that I watched this morning while I was working out that was all of the references to like E.T. and Alien and
Stand By Me.
Shining and Stand By Me, all the references that are in there, even to Marvel comic and stuff like that.
Star Wars. Yep.
The Star Wars stuff and D&D, as in Dungeons and Dragons, and I mean it's really good. You ought to go find it. It's on my Twitter feed. You can find the link to the video there. So basically, I would recommend you seeing Star Trek. It's a fun movie. For me, I think I fell into what Dr. Jill fell into. I went to a movie expecting so many great things that I just kind of disappointed myself. So I kind of set myself up for a medium popcorn, and that was kind of my own fault. So
And see, I saw it with Bailey, and she's only seen these 3 Star Trek movies. She has not seen any of the old series, and she finds them very entertaining.
yeah.
She enjoys them.
So, any final words, Dr. Jill, on Star Trek or the movie?
No, it's always a pleasure to see you both, and thank you for having me and the chit chat. And go watch Last of the Mohicans this weekend.
Okay, I will. So I met Dr. Jill. I met Dr. Jill at Durham Warrior Survival Challenge last year when I was trying to interview her, and she didn't believe me that I wouldn't tell everybody. She's like, because I mean, you're so not jaded, but I mean, you knew how on the real show how it works. You know, they're gonna hear something you say, and they're gonna like ask that question later on to someone else. So you were very guarded whenever we would ask you questions.
Well, I had a top super secret alliance that I needed to protect.
She knew you were my friend. She wouldn't even have talked to you at all.
That's probably right. But I didn't do any. I was honest. I was honest, Abe.
No, production was, and you'll see that. Like, I went back as a volunteer this year for this year's Survivor Challenge, and I kind of functioned in a sort of a sense of I was sort of a neutral person that if you, as a contestant, being an ex-Survivor player or just a regular player, wanted to just bounce stuff off of me, because sometimes you don't know who you can trust out there. So to have that sort of counselor, just what do you think about this, or what do you think about that, and like half the people availed themselves of that and talked to me. We had some great conversations, and I must say that the winner talked to me a lot. Not that I had anything to do with this win, but you know, he was just a thinker, and he just wanted, you know, and the other half, the vast majority of the Survivor players was like, I'm not telling you squat, you know, because they just didn't trust you because of the whole, you know, production experience. But anyone who does go to Durham, you can trust production, and you can trust, you know, it's a totally different ballgame than CBS. So I should have talked to you more. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
Well, let me tell you, she is much more fun to hang around with when she's not having the numbers in the tribe versus just being a volunteer. Because I got to spend a lot of time with her this past summer as well, and had a blast. And you're right. To me, grading the confessionals, the winner really got some of the higher marks in confessionals. He was very articulate about it and good about it. I actually got accused on camera of don't tell him anything. He's just going to run back to his podcast and tell everybody. By Jason. And he was joking, of course.
Oh, gosh.
But he said, I know. Don't tell Dave anything. He's just going to run back to Dwaine. They're going to put it on the podcast. So, but he was kidding. It was funny.
Right. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Be sure to shop Amazon using our links on our website, Survivor Talk with D&D or stwdd.com. If you consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 or $2 a month, we would love that. And, of course, we still have our Survivor Talk with D&D mugs that are available on the website, and shirts if you want a shirt. So thanks for listening. Thank you, Dr. Jill, for coming on. It was a pleasure having you.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you, David.
Thank you, Dwaine.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.